welcome back to my channel. It's Steph. These are the colors we're using this month, if that gives you any idea about what theme I'm going with. But before we get into that, I'm going to go ahead and do my normal flip through. Let me know in the comments if you guys enjoy flipping through the previous month. I feel like if you watched the previous month's setup, you might not need me to do the flip through. You're maybe not interested in seeing how the pages are turning out or anything. So I'm just curious because these bits tend to be a couple of minutes long since I don't speed them up at all during editing. So if you guys don't benefit from it, I can make my overall videos slightly shorter. But if you guys like seeing it, I will for sure continue adding them in. You can see with my weeklies, I went with wooden signs for a shorter week, and then I went to the mushroom caps, and then I started adding in trackers. I'm actually really enjoying these weekly spreads with the offset days of the week and the doodle space. So I am super happy with how much information I can cram in. Since I do use a bigger journal, again, my journal's a B5 size, I have plenty of room for doodles and trackers and things like that on the weekly pages. And I haven't yet done the last weekly for September for the final 5 days. But let's go ahead and get into my theme this month, which is a very witchy theme indeed. I am going with Hocus Pocus, as you can see here from the penciled in sketches that I have done. Just an iconic movie. So for this theme, I am going with this berry purple 676. I am going with yellow 991 and this vibrant 443 blue, this super vibrant 856 red, which comes from the tropical palette, not the primary one, that one's darker. So the tropical palette red, this pumpkiny orange 933, this tan brown color 977, and N15 black, just for all the black stuff. Also, I didn't show it here, I will show it later. I also use 679, which is a darker, deeper, almost black purple, and that's what I'm going to be using for the titles, the quote page, the fonts in general throughout the theme. Again, I was going with Hocus Pocus when I was deciding what I wanted to use for the theme for October. I knew I wanted to do something that wasn't traditional Halloween, wasn't pumpkins, wasn't fall leaves, wasn't, something I'd seen before. And I was browsing through Pinterest for Halloween inspired things and came across these adorable slide shoes with this color block print of the Sanderson sisters, just their hair, and was immediately inspired to create that for my October page. I thought it would just look so cute on these pages, and I am super happy in retrospect with how it turned out. It actually turned out better than I expected it to. I just used the berry purple to make Mary's odd ponytail bun thing that she has in the movie, and I outlined it in black. And then for Winifred's hair, I went with that orange and added some, flamey red bits to give some dimension there. And then for Sarah, I just did really curvy, wavy yellow lines, which once you go over it a couple of times made it look a little bit more dimensional, like curly hair. You get the different levels of color there, and then added in some extra waves of low light with the brown. So I think that it's recognizable. I added their mouths in with the red for an extra pop of color, and to kind of identify that their faces are meant to be there as well. This type of block color art is super easy. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to give the viewing audience the idea of what it is. And I think with these sisters being so iconic and so nostalgic, anybody would just immediately recognize what this theme is. So yeah, so that's what I went. And then I added the cauldron in, again, a block color, so it's not supposed to look perfect, it's just supposed to be the shape of the cauldron, for a reminiscent scene from the beginning of the movie when they're standing over the cauldron making their potion. So that's the idea of this cover page here. And I am loving the bold illustrated feeling of it. I don't really, again, I'm not an artist, so I don't really even know the terminology for what it is, but I love how bold the colors are. I love how simple the design is. And for my font, I just went with something a little bit similar to the Hocus Pocus movie theme. I just Googled Hocus Pocus font and did my own interpretation of it. I'm not a hand letterer, so I just kind of went for it. The quote that I used for the cover page is the spell that Winnie uses to raise Billy Butcher from the dead. He's the zombie that chases the kids around throughout the movie. And there's a bit of the spell I didn't add in about unfaithful lover long since dead or something like that, but I added in wiggle thy toes, open thine eyes, twist thy fingers toward the sky, life is sweet, be not shy, on your feet so saith I, which is meant out of context to just kind of remind you to feel yourself out, feel your body, be present, appreciate life, life is great. So it's in line with self-improvement and confidence and all of that. So that's how it turned out. Again, super happy with it. For the calendar page, every single month I do basically the same thing. It's 6 boxes tall, 5 boxes wide, days of the week headers, plenty of space for goals, events, and some kind of doodles. For this theme, keeping in Hocus Pocus, I went with, for my doodles, the Black Flame Candle, an iconic image from the film, the thing that brings the witches back. And then I went with Binks the cat, who arrives just after he lights the black flame candle. So I do a silhouette and just leave the eyes yellow for Binks the cat, and then for the black flame candle, I used the dark purple initially that I was using for the October header, and it didn't contrast well enough with the black of the wax, so I left some space open and added in the berry purple to give the impression of melting wax running down the candle. I recommend something with a bit more color than this super dark purple. The berry purple looked great. I wish I had used that initially, but we learn, right? So then I added again my headers in the same dark purple and started with the doodles. The quote on this page is the spell that Winifred uses before she gets hung in the beginning of the film that says that on All Hallows Eve, when the moon is around, a virgin will summon us from under the ground. Is the spell that brings them back from the dead. I also use the berry purple as the black flame because black would have just looked ridiculous. So purple is a good cartoony, impressionistic color for black in a lot of situations. So don't be afraid to experiment with just purple instead of black, go with it. So here you can see I tried to sketch in Binks, and I was going to do something different and make it more detailed, but I just didn't like how it was turning out, and I want to be happy with it. So I just was like, let's simplify it. Let's just do a silhouette. I did add a tiny bit of dimension by adding in an extra layer of black for his legs to kind of give the impression that they're there, and then colored in his eyes yellow. So that's as detailed as I needed to get with Binks here. And then because the page was feeling awfully dark, I had Binks's yellow eyes, but everything else was this super dark purple or black, I used the berry purple for the headers for the days of the week, and then I highlighted the top line of each week alternating Sarah's blonde and Winnie's red, the orange color, which at the end of the day I think balances out the colors and gives it more visual interest than just having it be all black and purple. So I think it gives it a very Halloween-y feel. Halloween-y. Interesting word. But yes, it gives it it's a reminiscent of Halloween. And again, because I'd already done the N15 outline, I did these boxes individually. Normally I use a standard fine liner, but I was going for a bolder look for this month, so I was using the not brush tip pen of the Tombow Duo brush pens, so I didn't want to run the black anywhere, which will happen when you take a lighter color over a darker color of Tombow. So for that reason, I did the days individually, which is causing some, you know, little gaps and corners and things like that. To remedy that, just, you know, use a regular fine liner for your days, for your calendar outline. Moving on to the habit trackers, I always do a mini calendar. Very rarely will I do like a graph or a line tracker where it's all the days of the week are listed out. I've done that a couple of times, but I personally like the recognizable little mini calendar, because I know I start on Mondays, so I can say, okay, that's Friday because it's the third box from the right, and it helps me just easily know which days I need to be adding information to, especially if I've been, you know, if I'm going back to maybe the day before yesterday to say how much water I drank or if I worked out or not. So, and then lately I've been adding a running log. I did it in September. I'm doing it in October. I'm trying to run as much as I can while the weather is nice out. Once it hits super cold temperatures in like late December, January, I won't be able to run. And when it's super hot in like June and July, can't run too much either because it's 80 degrees and super humid by 7 o'clock in the morning. So not a lot of time for that. My run log gives me a space to write the date that I ran, so I can see how long I'm going between runs, the distance I ran, the amount of time it took, so I can track, you know, pace and things like that. It also has a space for the temperature, so I can know if it was abnormally hot or super cold that day. What I ate. If I ate breakfast, a full breakfast, a breakfast sandwich, an apple. If I was fasted, I can put that in there. And then for the notes, I can add more detail. For example, my last run, it was 80 degrees and humid when I went for the run, so I was having some breathing issues, not because of my lungs, but because of actually how thick the air was. It was intense. My mood tracker, super in love with. I think it might be my favorite spread, or if not my favorite visually right now, it will be my favorite when it's finished. I went with Book. Book's name, I guess, according to the internet, is Hocus Pocus, which is what the name of the movie is. I always thought it's because that's what he called Halloween in general. Like, it's just a bunch of hocus pocus when he was in the Sanderson sisters' cottage. But apparently that is Book's name. You learn something new every day. So I'm just going to call him Book because that's what Winifred called him throughout the movie. He is made from human skin. Super gross. And there are some silver snake embellishments, both that corner there and also, that side bar there, and then also the two corners. So I just doodle those out again in the N15, and then I take my fine liner, my Prisma 005, and I add these little hash marks to either side of the snake, and that gives it an illusion of dimension, so that it looks like the top is rounded out, essentially. Drawing human eyes, super difficult. I'm not great at it, so again, I wasn't going for something super realistic here, but I did try to make it at least semi-realistic. Magic spell myself. Color the eyes. So I went with that vibrant blue just for Book's eye. It's the only time I use it in the entire setup because his eye was blue in the film. And then I used the same brown to color in with the brush tip for some extra layering and dimension here. His eyeball, which, because Book is made from leathered human skin, is brown. So I added the stitch marks. I apologize again. I didn't zoom out here. I was just so into how cute Book was turning out that I forgot to zoom the camera back out, but I just added stitches everywhere. Those stitch lines are the same as what he has in the movie. And then I am basically going to fill in the color header for Mood Tracker in the same dark purple, and then add some stippling to the snakes in the corner to give it, because they're silver, to give it the illusion of being, you know, varnished silver. And I am, again, super happy with how it turns out in the end. But yeah, let me know in the comments. I am interested. What's your favorite Halloween or fall movie if you don't celebrate Halloween specifically? I love Halloween. It is by far my favorite holiday in the year. I get excited about it. My birthday's at the end of August. It's the 26th. August 27th for me is like, all right, give me a pumpkin spice anything. Let's start making pumpkin bread. Fall is coming. And September 1st, 100% starts Halloween season. And I call it the most wonderful time of the year. Not Christmas for me. It is definitely Halloween. So for that reason, I love Halloween movies. Always have, always will. And I'm super interested to know what your favorite nostalgic or new Halloween movie is. Let me know in the comments, and I will for sure make a point to try to watch all of them at some point in October. So I'm gonna do these lines here that you can see kind of build layers of the hair colors. So the purple, the red and the orange, the yellow and the brown, not black. And then because I wasn't going to need this left section of skin, I went ahead and just colored it in its normal tan brown leather skin color. And again, forgot to zoom out because I was so excited about book. But I'm just coloring. You guys don't need to see the brush strokes at the top of the page, right? It's the same. You're gonna get to see how it turns out here in a second when I realize what I did. Moving on to my brain dump and line a day. As you can see, I don't have a doodle pre-sketched for brain dump. I wasn't going to do one, and then I looked at the page and said, nope, I guess I have to do one. So I basically freehand the doodle here, and it's just, again, little miniatures of what's on the cover page, the Sanderson sisters' hair and lips. So I think it turned out super cute, and you can make it as small as you want. You don't have to add the lips. You don't have to add the highlights. You can just have these super iconic, recognizable sisters as small or as large as you like. So it doesn't take much sketching in advance. You just have to know the general shape, basically. And I think it turned out super cute. And then for my line a day, I am going to add a doodle there as well, which I wasn't planning on doing, but I had this big empty space at the bottom, and I don't like big empty spaces on pages. So for that, I am going to badly freehand draw the witch's shoes from the beginning scene of the movie where they're hung and you see their boots swinging and their stripy socks. So I am going to freehand draw some terrible boots and some legs that are not the same size, and I'm gonna let you in on how I somewhat tried to fix that. I believe it was Cindy Gunter-Baldo who said if one of your lines is super off, then what you can do is you can thicken the line on the alternating side. So if one is really thin, you add thickness to the line on the outsides of the existing space, and if the line's really thick, then you add thickening to the lines on the inside of the space so that the white space in the middle, the space that you're supposed to be working with, is closer in size. And I semi do that here. I was just so far off that there was no way I was going to be able to thicken it enough to make the inside spaces look the same without it looking completely ridiculous. But again, it's just a doodle. I went with the purple, the berry purple of Mary's hair for the socks because that seemed the most witchy to me at the time, but you could alternate the orange, the yellow, and the purple if you wanted to give it more of an autumn witch vibe. And that was it. So moving on, this is not a typical spread that I do, but because it's Halloween and it's October, I added a must-watch movies for October list, and I added a fall bucket list bingo. If you've been following my channel from the beginning, you know that back in February, I did a self-care bingo spread. I hit a couple of bingos, but I definitely did not get to do everything on the whole chart. So hopefully I will get to do most of, if not all of the things on my fall bucket list by the end of fall, which is in December. So I'll clearly be coming back to this page for a couple of months. It's things like, again, we live in Eastern Virginia, right on the Atlantic coast, And so it's things like going to the Neptune Festival in Virginia Beach, Virginia. It's things like driving over to Shenandoah National Park to see the leaves, and camping and bonfires, and going to Busch Gardens in Williamsburg for Howl-O-Scream, which is haunted houses and things like that. So a lot of it has to do with the changing of the season, which would be early fall. And then there's things like the Grilled Cheese Festival, or cider tasting, or going to a pumpkin patch. So for this must-watch movies list, I wanted to make it more interesting than just actually a list. So I alternated the colors from the sister's hair and added the blue in. I misspoke earlier when I said I never used it again. I use it here on this list, just for some contrasting color. And I list out, I think it's 21 movies I want to watch in October. And it's all the Harry Potters. I listed them out individually. It's Hocus Pocus, Coraline, Corpse Bride. I love Johnny Depp and Tim Burton, so I almost added Sweeney Todd as well, but I think it might be too scary for my daughter. These are all family-friendly Halloween movies, you guys. Double Double, Toil and Trouble, if you don't remember it, definitely worth rewatching. It is the Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen kid Halloween movie. It was one of my favorites when I was, 6 or 7 years old. And, a Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow is another Tim Burton, Johnny Depp collaboration. I love all of their collaborations, by the way. But it's the one that I think it might be the scariest on this whole list for my daughter, who is 8. So Practical Magic and Sleepy Hollow are the two I'm not exactly sure how they're going to go over, but I'm willing to scare her a little bit because I don't think they're that scary. There's nothing, but of course, aside from this list of classic Halloween-themed movies, I personally will also be enjoying some of the scarier, actual scary movies of the world. But that Addams Family, by the way, I am definitely talking about the Christina Ricci, Angelica Houston one, not the new animated one, which I'm sure is adorable, but that's not what I want. I want to watch my childhood Halloween movies from like Disney and Nickelodeon and things like that. So Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School is another classic cartoon Halloween movie that I feel like people forget about until somebody says, do you remember that one movie? Where Shaggy and Scooby were gym teachers at an all-girls monster school. And it is one of my favorite Halloween movies from when I was a kid. So we are finishing up this setup though. After this page, we do just the general flip through. And so again, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. I want to remind you to let me know your favorite Halloween movie, and we're going to do this final flip through. I am in love and obsessed with the vibrant fall colors, the very Halloween feeling of this spread and this theme, and the fact that it's not your typical pumpkins or fall leaves theme. I am super excited to see how book turns out, and I will be sure to share that on my Instagram as well, which I will link in the description box below if you don't already follow me on Instagram. Let me know what your favorite spread is as well, and what theme you're going with for October. As always, I appreciate all the inspiration and all the ideas that I get from Instagram and everything else. But until next time, guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a very happy Halloween and fall season, and I will see you guys next time.